So I guess I was wrong in the other video. Actually, Abigail's Flower is the first summoning item in the game. And you know, I'm curious how good the other pre-hard mode summoning items are. Let's find out. Hello and welcome to Terraria Item Versus! Today's video is the first three-way battle. We have Abigail's Flower, the true worst summon item, question mark. The Flinx Staff, the first summon item you can craft without luck. And the Vampire Frog Staff, the most underrated item in the entire fucking game. Just doing the math for this video blew my brain. I'm experiencing synapsal entropy currently. So you may notice that my testing arena has changed a bit. Now there is a harpy up here. So this is to test the mobility of minions for the most part. So you remember I mentioned that the mobility of the slime staff was one of the reasons it wasn't very good. And yeah, I mean, he's pretty much limited to the ground. He has these hops. He can chase after enemies pretty quickly on the ground, but his damage against aerial enemies is actually, it's so limited to the fact where it doesn't eat your iframes, it might actually be good, to be honest. Because the slime staff, reminder, is the only balanced summon item because it doesn't have its own invincibility frames, it takes up yours. So it's not good a lot of the time. Pinch staff, like I said before in the previous video, it can fly, but its damage is very inconsistent because of how it moves. Like, it'll hit occasionally, but yeah, it's very bad. So there's what Abigail looks like. I can wear my armor for all these tests because, like, with or without it, the stats all stay the exact same because the numbers are so low. So Abigail actually has the worst mobility out of every summon in the game. Even worse than the baby slime. However, her strength is, if you get enough minion slots, you can make her stronger, which is pretty cool. I'm a fan of minions that are like this. Having a ton of minions to do your bidding is really funny, and I think they should keep it, but I also like when minions get bigger or stronger if you have more slots. It's cool. Like, you probably can't tell the difference, but I use two Abigails, and she is like 1% bigger. I think she literally is like actually 1% bigger. You can't tell a difference without a magnifying glass. And well, here's what her mobility looks like. She has to stay still to attack, so every time she attacks, the enemy is just gonna get away. Which is why the wiki suggests that you use a mobility hampering attack so that she can actually get her damage off. But her speed, pretty much all her stats increase if you have more summon slots used up with Abigail Flower specifically. It's a very limited summon. Its damage is also the lowest out of any summon, tied with the Blade Staff. The Flinx, this dude is a beast. First of all, I like how he looks. Second of all, look at his hops. He just jumps up there, doesn't give a shit, and then he jumps on their head 60 times like he's playing the really bad Kung Fu Panda Wii game and playing as Monkey. I guarantee there's like 100 people on the entire Earth that get that reference, and none of them are watching this video. But yeah, he cannot fly. It's actually just a really big jump. It's essentially, this guy is the slime staff if it was actually good. Or he can actually hit two enemies at the same time, but it's very inconsistent because of how he moves. He is affected by terrain, so if you're fighting in closed corridors, it actually will make his attacks more consistent. He does eat your iframes a bit, but because of how inconsistent he is, I think it's a fair summon. The standard weak summon. And then you have the Vampire Frog. This guy right here. Broken. Illegal. Arrest him! He should not be allowed to be this good. This item is so good. It scales pretty poorly into hard mode, at least. Like, when you get it, it's like better than the Fetid Bagnecks when you get the Fetid Bagnecks, if that makes sense. It does not scale into hard mode. It does 13 damage. Enemies are going to take 1 damage from this. Use something actually that has higher damage, like the Imp Staff. But in terms of just raw DPS, this is the highest DPS that you can get from a minion in pre-hard mode. Its mobility in the air is also pretty good. It's a little better than the Slime Staff, but not as good as the Flinx Staff. It still does a good amount of damage to enemies in the air. Its knockback is also the highest out of all of them, I believe. Yeah, it's 5. The other minions that we've been testing have 2. So its lack of mobility is actually, like, made up for it by its knockback, which combos into itself. Look at how big it can jump! I mean, it's a frog. You would expect it to jump high, but dude, it's actually using platforms too. Why is a frog smarter than a Flinx? They're gonna take over soon. And now for everyone's favorite part of the video. The stats. Damage without a reforge, we have 6, 8, and 11. Far left number being Abigail's Flower, middle number being the Flinx Staff, far right being Vampire Frog Staff, which is also up here if you're ever wondering. I'm probably going to do some more videos that I test a ton of items at the same time because I think it'd be fun and save us a lot of time. I hope that's not too confusing for you. And with mythical, godly, like anything that increases damage by 10% or higher will increase it by the same amount because these numbers are so small that rounding makes it equal. With mythical, it becomes 7, 9, and 13. Frog staff gets 2, other 2 get 1. Damage spread, it makes sense. 6 to 8, 8 to 10, 11 to 15. Definitely looks like the frog staff is winning by a little bit. DPS against one target, 20 to 22 for Abigail, 24 to 33 for the Flinx staff, and 72 to 82 for the vampire frog staff. This is nearing the average DPS that the imp staff does. And then DPS against 3 targets. All 3 of these minions that we're testing here today are too small to hit more than 2 targets. They can hit more than 2, but they're too small to do so unless you get lucky. And you have 39 to 43 for Abigail's Flower, 32 to 52 for the Flinx staff, so Abigail's Flower actually gets kind of close. These two are kind of like super similar, just higher highs for the Flinx staff. It's less consistent because of how it jumps around though. Vampire frog staff, 150 to 162. This is just blatantly stronger than the imp staff. What is going on? And yeah, every other test is the same because the minions are too small. Average DPS, the only number that matters. We have Abigail's Flower, 37.66, Flinx staff, 39.75, and Vampire frog staff, 142.83. Oh, knockback. Abigail's Flower, Flinx staff are both 2, Vampire frog 5, which lets it combo into itself better. Minions can't crit. Use time 36 for all 3. That's the actual summon of the minion. And then as for them attacking, Abigail's Flower attacks 4 times per second in its base form. Maybe I'll test further forms of Abigail in the far future. I don't know. That'd be fun. Maybe like souped up Abigail versus souped up Stardust Dragon. Let me know if you're interested in that in the comments. I'll probably do that if there's some interest. And Flinx staff and Vampire frog staff can both hit 6 times per second, although the Flinx staff is less consistent at doing so. There is an argument for the Vampire frog staff not being this good because its higher knockback means it's never going to be able to get those 6 hits off, right? It's just going to knock enemies away, so they're not going to get hit more than once. Yet another situation where I should probably test my minions or damage or weapons or whatever you want to call it on something other than dummies that are stationary and have no knockback effects. But I don't care. I am lazy. Extremely lazy. Mana cost? The Flinx staff is the only summon in the entire game that costs 5 mana to summon it instead of 10. I don't know why. Rarity is orange for all 3. Sell? Abigail's Flower Flinx staff will sell for 50 silver, while the Vampire frog staff sells for 1 gold. Conclusion? Vampire frog staff is broken and should be jailed immediately. So my spreadsheet's beginning to look a bit chaotic. I added another multiplier for ranged attacks. So if an attack can hit the 10th dummy in my test, and anyway, all minions can because they walk over and they start smacking it, so all minions are technically ranged attacks. All you really need to know is the number on the left is the true DPS of the item in every test, and the number in the parentheses is how valuable I think the item is, with my multipliers and reasoning over here. So if you think my reasoning is dumb or I'm giving an item too much credit, you can just look at this number on the left and put it wherever you think it would actually go. So since minions are both a ranged attack and they are summons that are overpowered, they get a times 12 multiplier now. All the illegal shit the Vampire frog staff was already doing is just made even worse by this. It's actually 5 it's 5 better than the true Excalibur. Minions should not be allowed to hit this many times with their own immunity frames while also having decent knockback. What's funny is on the wiki they actually tried to buff it and then they reverted it because they realized they made a mistake. So a few positions have changed. True Knight's Edge, thanks to its ranged attack, is now in 3rd place. Imp staff in 6th place. There's the Flinx staff at 477, slightly worse than the Knight's Edge at 483, trailed immediately by the Abigail Flower at 451. Hornet staff and Finch staff have risen to 12th and 13th place. Flamering with its times 2 has risen to 15th place. Well, it was already in 15th place, but now it's not like close at all. The Lightsbane was really close to it, now it isn't. Trimarang has gone from like 20th place to 17th, thanks to its new range credit. Like, I think these items deserve more credit. If you can hit an enemy from range, it's safer and thus should be given more value. This goes all the way back to the Knight's Edge versus the Arcalis video, where I believe that the Knight's Edge, despite doing less damage in most situations, was still a better choice because it had more range, so it was safer. Although I'm not gonna give items with like slightly more range a bunch of credit. These are items that have a ton of range, like they can hit like 10 dummies away from you. Sun Fury is so close to being able to hit a 10th dummy, it hits 9. With the attack speed from the hollowed armor, you can actually hit the 10th dummy, but I'm not counting that. I'm not counting with armors. Slime Staff gets a bit more credit because it's technically a ranged attack, even though the summon aspect of it is balanced, but it's at 90 instead of 45. Here's all my reasoning for every multiplier that I'm going to use in the series. I might add more, but I'm going to probably not do so because I don't want to clutter this up and make it way too complicated. Just making this video already destroyed my mind. I'm probably not, I want to make more videos and like stream today, but I'm like so tired. I'm so tired now. Math should be illegal, just like this frog. Why is he allowed to be a thing? Hail the Hypno Toad. He is our new ruler. Rank 1 Vampire Frog Staff. Bow down. Fuck me. I was also thinking of adding a multiplier for items emitting light, because it makes it easier to fight if you can see. Also in the Don't Starve seed, if it's dark, you die. But that doesn't seem properly coded, so I'm not going to count that. I died in the Constant seed when I was not in complete darkness. It was only kind of dark. So yeah, for now I'm not going to mess around with lighting. I'm just going to keep it the way it is. Hopefully it's not too confusing. All you really need to know is that this multiplier is a combination of other multipliers, and I think making it into one big number before multiplying it to a base number to make a true number makes more sense. So I hope that answered the question. Frog's staff should be locked away for many years for crimes against humanity. This thing is broken, and minions were already broken. Like, what if we made the slime staff, but it was actually good, did more damage, and attacked faster? What is this? But for now, if you enjoyed the video and you want to see more like it, hit subscribe. If you have any other items that you would be genuinely curious about, leave them in the comments below and I'll do them. Thank you so much for watching, Wulfrum. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.